Welcome to New York's number two sports show. The Rangers, unfortunately, have hit a scoring drought of historic levels. The Rangers are shut out again at home, and in their first three home games this season, no goals. And they are the first team in NHL history to have done that. And currently, they have the second longest streak in terms of minutes as far as not scoring a goal to start the season at home. The only team that has had a longer drought is the 1928 1929 Pittsburgh Pirates, not the baseball team, the defunct hockey team. And all that'll take to surpass that is if the Rangers, in their next home game, which won't be until a little less than a week from now, actually. So we got to kind of put this on the back burner. But if they don't score in the first 7 minutes and 19 seconds of that game, then it'll be the longest streak as far as minutes is concerned. But still, um, obviously really frustrating to have been shut out. And all the losses as well. If you take away the empty net goals, right? There was two empty net goals in the Pittsburgh game, and then one here in this Edmonton game. Final score 2-0 Oilers. It's all been 1-0, right? In terms of non-empty net goals. So that makes it frustrating. And then as well, this game against the Oilers, in our discussion points, it's going to be a fairly similar conversation to the Washington game, the last game, where there was a lot of good. The Rangers were the better team. They did a great job of, limiting McDavid and Draisaitl. I thought that Stuart Skinner played well. I don't think he necessarily played as well as Charlie Lindgren, but he played, he did the job for Edmonton. And look, there were some posts hit, there were some close chances, but end of the day, Rangers don't get the results. And within that, like, again, they're stressing a positive attitude. And I get it. Like, it's in a lot of ways the opposite of how last year started, where the Rangers were winning games a lot, but you knew it looked ugly. They were scoring a lot of goals, but also giving up a lot of chances. Igor was stealing games. Again, Shesterkin was good in this one, gives up one goal. But again, there is a bit of a talent problem on this team. There just is. When it comes to the top end players, you're not getting what you need. And to me, like the power play, that's inexcusable, right? Like that shouldn't get swept under the rug. Again, 0 for 3 in the power play. And really, two of those power plays, it was a little less than a 4-minute span. In fact, there was a little brief 5-on-3 opportunity for about, what was it? Less than 15 seconds. I want to say 11 seconds of a 5-on-3 in the second period, down 1-0 at that time. And yet again, it just, where is the Rangers' clutch goal with, late in the game, even goalie pull 6-on-5, and it's an extension of the power play, right? So my issues really lie with some of the top players. We'll go positive here for a moment. And again, like the Washington episode, the last one, this is going to be more overarching thoughts than it is necessarily in-game play-by-play stuff. We'll do it, of course, as always. But the Sam Carrick line was great. Sam Carrick specifically was the best player on the ice. Chances all over the place. Now, the Oilers are his former team. That was the team he was with before he signed on with the Rangers. So he was part of the Oiler Cup final team, not the last one, of course, but the one before that lost to the Panthers in 2024. But yeah, look, like we're going to call it the fourth line just because it's kind of easy as a way to just kind of describe it, but they're not the fourth line. I've been saying this for a while. Like they are clearly, as far as ice time, that's the third line. They played way, way more than the Laba, Brodzinski, Radish line. And they actually did stick with Brodzinski. They went with Parson against Pittsburgh. They won the game. And they went with Brodzinski, who I didn't think did much against Capitals. They went back to him. And look, like again, I would throw Radish in that mix as well. Like, that's the bad thing about Trocheck getting hurt is that it moves Connor Sherry up. And look, he plays really hard, right? Like the motor is there. He's playing all right, but it's like he can't be in a top 6 position. Like he's playing a lot of minutes. And again, like I don't even want to criticize him because again, like the right intentions and the right motives are there for him, but he's just not, what can you expect from a guy like that? Again, he's spent a lot of his, most recent bit of his career in the AHL. So, but what I want to get to yet again, it's the Artemi Panarins of the world, Alexis Lafreniere, Mika Zibanejad, JT Miller, you need a lot more from them. And again, like with Zibanejad, I feel as if he has been playing well. I thought in this game, maybe not as much of a noticeable factor as maybe he had been in previous games. Um, but he's still not the highest on my list of players I'm frustrated with. Panarin's probably at the top. But look, Lafreniere, you need more from him too. You know, like there were some good moments there in the first few games, but like he goes back to that line needs to be split up. And I think that unfortunately, Mike Sullivan, he's going to stick to what he has. Now, look, could you see, like, could there be a switch of Brodzinski for Parsons, something like that? Yes, like that's certainly within the realms of possibility. But I think that they should really try within that top nine to reshuffle. You know, keep the Carrick line alone, stick with that. But when it comes to the rest of it, and let's say you want to stick with the Labo with like the other random players, fine. You want to do that? That's okay. They're not going to get much ice time, but fine. I still think that within that top six, switch things around. I just, you know, whether that's splitting up Panarin and Lafreniere, splitting up Panarin and Zibanejad, like I don't think that that's necessarily the combination that I want. And then the power play as well. Like I feel like it's just too much. Um, the minutes are just way too heavy in the direction of those quote unquote top players. So either do a better job of distributing it more 50-50 or mix up between the first and second units. I just think it was a terrible power play at the end of last year, and we're seeing the same thing now. We are. And, you know, yeah, maybe they get a goal and all of a sudden things open up, but I am not confident in this power play anymore. It's stale. Um, and they need to make changes with that. So I have less patience with that than I do with the lack of scoring in general. Um, I guess it sucks to come out of these games frustrated because, again, they are doing such a nice job of defending and not giving up such grade A chances. In the case of the Oilers, this is a high powered offense. Rangers didn't take any penalties. Like what Mike Sullivan is preaching is getting through. And the work ethic, except for that first game, last four, it's been there. Like, so I don't want to come down too hard on them, but look here, we're talking about a historic streak, um, and at home as well. That can't be happening. And it speaks to me to a lack of talent, specifically amongst the core, right? I'm not going to come down hard on the depth. Do I love it? Not really. Not some of it. I've spoken about how like some of those, the radishes and, Sherry and, like I'd probably rather see a Berard. I'd probably rather see some younger player that's in Hartford, but fine. But I need a hell of a lot more from Panarin, Lafreniere, JT Miller, Zibanejad. Just gonna need results from them. And the eye test for some of them isn't looking good either. As far as the defensive side of things, I have spoken about it, and Vakanainen, it's a bit of an unfortunate break for sure, as the one goal that Edmonton scores is a play that he basically tries to rim around the boards, but it goes off the linesman and it leads to a mini breakaway, which Trent Frederic scores on. Brandon Schneider was also probably a little bit too far away from the play. He needed to be closer to the middle of the ice as well. But for Vakanainen, like his ice time was really diminished in the third period. And look, as long as Carson Soucy's out, it doesn't matter that much. But if and when Carson Soucy comes back, the idea that Matthew Robertson could be in over Earl Vakanainen is a very real thing, as I see it. So it's something to continue to monitor. And, look, I think that group is doing a decent job. Look, they're not going to provide you a lot of offense, which hurts. Of course, Adam Fox will. But yeah, it's not much of a skilled defensive corpse. And that's all right. But when you're having trouble, on the power play, forwards, like everything becomes magnified. And so, like, look, Matthew Robertson, for example, like I like what I've seen from him, but you'll never confuse him to be, like a Brian Leach. Like this guy is absolutely a defensive first defenseman. So, but Vakanainen only played 12:52, 14 shifts, a lot less than like let's see, even say Robertson. He played a little more than 5 minutes left, six less shifts than Matthew Robertson. It says a lot. I mean, Robertson, again, he's been in the minors for a long time and just made his NHL debut at the very end of last season. So it doesn't speak that well on Vakanainen. And but look, who the hell knows as far as when Carson Soucy returns? And I don't think there's much of an appetite to bring Connor Mackey into the lineup, nor should there be. But let's discuss the game. And I pretty much did it all right there. But first period, pretty low event first, where Edmonton outshoots the Rangers 8-6. Like, I felt like that was a solid first period for the Rangers, but I don't, not a whole lot going on there. Kind of a feeling out process on both sides. The pace was pretty up tempo, I will say that. And Shesterkin made a couple of good saves on like Evan Bouchard, one in the first on him, one later on. And Stuart Skinner was up to the task as well. Again, I can't speak enough to how Sam Carrick was just a force all game long. He's a really underrated player on this team and that signing has gone so much better than I would have thought. That was a 3-year deal. This is year 2 of that. And Sam Carrick, that's a very, very ideal bottom 6 center who can kill penalties. I'm pretty sure, it's a small sample size this season, but as far as his face-off prowess is good, he really has been so much better than I could have ever anticipated. And with Edstrom and Rempe on the wings, it's definitely an interesting line. And, you kind of saw that last year when it was together. And, I would say, look, Rempe fanned on one in this game. Edstrom is, not going to be confused for a great goal scorer, but they're going to do positive things out there. And if utilized correctly, they're going to help. Do you really want them out there? And they were 2-3 minutes left in the game down by 1. No, but they deserve, hey, give Sullivan credit. They deserved it. Right. I think there's still a little bit too much deference for power play and 6-on-5 in terms of the so-called stars of the team. But still, the fact that he had that line out there that late in the game, I do like it, but it's still not really what you're looking for. But that's kind of where they are. So we go to the second period, and again, at this point, no penalties, no goals, and it's that Vakanainen in play. And the Rangers played a really good second period. They outshot Edmonton 11-3 in the second, but it's a goal by Trent Frederic, his first goal of the season, assisted by Kapanen at 10:22. Vakanainen delays a bit, tries to get it past the red line and clear it down, but it goes off of the linesman who tried to get out of the way, goes onto the stick of Kapanen, and Vakanainen wasn't quick enough to basically impede the pass from Kapanen to Frederic. And Schneider kind of went too far up the ice, so then there you have Frederic beating Vakanainen and going 5-hole on Igor. So, tough to really blame Igor for a breakaway goal. And when Igor's been as good as he has, it's a little bit surprising to see him allow the 5-hole goal there, maybe a little bit. But again, he's done his job. Absolutely so. And that makes it one thing Edmonton, and it would be all that they would need. And right after that, the Rangers draw a couple of penalties. Troy Stetcher holds the stick of Johnny Brodzinski at 10:33. Rangers don't score on the power play. And look, there was some good ozone time, but the quality chances were not great. Right? Just because they weren't necessarily struggling to get zone entry doesn't mean that it was threatening. It wasn't. To me, they're very slow, very methodical. JT Miller is basically a non-factor in front, right? So it's almost as if you have 5 guys out there. I don't know. It's Fox and Panarin passing to each other. A lot of shots wide, a lot of shots right to the chest of the goalie. Nothing going on here. And it's a problem. It needs to be fixed. And I think that they need to change the personnel or the distribution of ice time, because you keep it like this, it's going to go nowhere. We saw what it was last year, and it's basically the same crew. It is, right? You take Kreider out, and you basically just replace him with either, whatever you want to call it, JT Miller, who was still part of that last year, or Trocheck, or now Lafreniere. It's the same main crew. So by the end of that power play, though, Braden Schneider is high stick by Leon Draisaitl at 12:22. So they get another chance at it. And of course, they don't score. So that's where it gets really, really frustrating. Still 1-0 Edmonton at the end of 2. We go to the third. And, I don't think the Rangers' third was as good as the second. And that's kind of been what it's felt like in a way. The Rangers' second periods, I feel like, even though They gave up goals against Washington and the Oilers. I feel like they've been some of their better periods in general. Um, the Penguin, the second Penguin game, really the last 3 games, I think their second period's been really good. Third period wasn't bad. Keep in mind they are trailing, but the Rangers get one more power play. Kulak, Hostik, Gavrikov at 8:19, and no dice. And that's, you know, the Rangers are probably going to have a tough time scoring goals even strength. I mean, they might do a really good job of not allowing goals even strength, which is really, really good. But it's where that power play is going to need to come through, and it certainly has not to this point. I know that they had a couple of goals against Pittsburgh on the road, but by and large, it hasn't been successful. And like I said, later on, 6-on-5 for the Rangers with 2 minutes left, and they don't get it done. And at 18:52, Adam Henrique scores his first goal of the season. Empty net goal assisted by McDavid and Mangiapane. And the Oilers win by a final score of 2-0. Rangers did outshoot Edmonton 13-11 in the third. Outshot them for the game 30-22. Another really well-played game by the Rangers, but yet they're now 2-3 and have scored no goals in any of their 3 home games. So now they go to the road, which might serve them well, probably will. And they're going to Canada to face the Leafs and the Canadiens. In terms of the Eastern Conference landscape, that's a pretty important games, right? Like if you have playoff aspirations, I think that, in the case of the Leafs, I think that, you feel pretty confident they'll make it. In the case of the Habs, I think like last year, probably going to be one of those teams you're battling it out with for a couple of last spots. I mean, again, it's early to think about playoffs, but the tough thing is when, Rangers losing these games in regulation, that's a problem. It's when I talk about like with the way the point structure is, and I don't like the way they do the points. I kind of wish it was more of a 3-2-1 system, even though I know that it probably wouldn't change things drastically. Either way, just the idea that the Rangers don't find a way enough times to just get a point. Right? As much as it sometimes hurts to lose games in overtime and a shootout, if you can find a way to tie a game late, that goes a long way. And the work. I mean, this is an obvious statement, but it really hurts you with the way that, again, the point system goes in the NHL to get those no points, especially at home. It really buries you in a big, big way. It's very crucial to find ways to get it to overtime. And I feel like the Rangers, the recent iterations of Rangers teams have not necessarily done that. They've done a pretty good job in terms of regulation wins. I'll give them that. But at the same side, a lot of regulation losses. So, like I said, you go to Toronto next. I am very likely to actually be at that Rangers Leafs game. Very excited. I have not gone to many opposing arenas. And so, this will be fun to go to a place that, loves hockey, really cares about their Toronto Maple Leafs, and the atmosphere should be fun. Not totally sure what to expect, but definitely looking forward to it. Try to give my best insight as far as that and just, how the Rangers look in person. But I think it's a good thing that they're leaving Madison Square Garden and they won't be back there until a little less than a week from now when they take on the Minnesota Wild. So we'll see what happens by then. But Rangers tried it again at home. They played well, but doesn't matter. No goals to the Rangers in their first 3 home games. The first NHL team to have ever done that, and had the second longest streak, only to the 1928-1929 Pittsburgh Pirates, not the baseball team, the defunct hockey team. And that soon might be broken in the next home game as well. So definitely not what you want. Definitely some positive signs within that as well. And, hopefully the Rangers can, get back on the road and find, a little bit more scoring success. But Rangers dropped to 2-3, shut out by the Capitals, and now they will head to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs.